Welcome back to Mr. Jim's Adventures. Today we continue the problem with Aether. Last time, we traveled 13 years into the past to meet Paper and witness the events that set this story in motion. Today we begin Chapter 1, A Secret Rendezvous. We'll meet Sebastian Snow, the young man at the heart of this story, along with Kira, Captain Rosalie Patrick, and Captain Cash as their paths begin to cross. Let's begin. Chapter 1, A Secret Rendezvous. The all-clear light flickers erratically rather than the solid green it should have been. The pilot takes off a sheepskin glove and flicks the bulb a couple of times with his thumb until the flickering stops. Like everything else in the fleet, the pressure indicator is wearing out. Sebastian Snow waits patiently as the pilot manually compares pressure just to be on the safe side. Today is a good day. Sebastian is determined not to let a little delay over getting onto the Sable Hawk put a damper on his mood. Sebastian takes a couple of deep breaths, squints a little, letting his eyes go blurry, and looks at the device. After a few moments that last less than a second but feel much longer, the insight kicks in. On the metal ring in which the bulb screws, there's a small engraved glyph. Every child learns about the power embedded in the physical markings, even though most can't perceive them. These are one of the heretical sciences, what the ancients would have called magical forces. Those rare individuals with the perception and talent to practice the heretical sciences are in high demand, for they make the fleet, space travel, and survival possible. To Sebastian's insight enhanced vision, the world around him dims but for a few areas that are under the influence of hermetic science effects. Considering how rare the talent is, and therefore how expensive equipment designed using the heretical sciences has become, the Indy has quite a few shiny areas. Sebastian doesn't have time to look around. Besides, it is considered rude to snoop. Instead, he focuses on the faulty lights. The glyph on the green bulb should glow bright and clear, but this one is blurred and starting to fade. As the door opens, Sebastian blinks away the insight. The smell of oil from the ship and the rattling of steam in the pipes are almost unbearable until his senses adjust. Captain Cash, sir, that glyph on the green light is damaged. It looks like a previous passenger brushed up against it too hard. Replacing it should set it to right. Turning spinward, once he leaves the connecting tube, Sebastian avoids the Sable Hawk's main passages. While Captain Cash's mood might change, Captain Patrick will never listen to him and will never like him. She would be infuriated at him for just walking freely through her ship. When using the Hawk as a rendezvous point with her niece, it's best to keep out of sight. Her whole face would go red if she knew Kira and he had arranged transportation to the Hawk today just to see each other. To help reduce his odds of being noticed, Sebastian wears an especially plain suit today. It is a simple single-vested affair of light brown that is common among low-level engineers. His height, 5 foot 10 inches, wouldn't pose a problem. He has come into his adult height. His size would blend with the crew, which is something he couldn't have done a year ago. However, his brown skin coloring, high cheekbones, bent nose, and wavy black hair would make him stand out on this vessel, which is crewed and populated by a mix of individuals with a lighter skin tone. More than once, Sebastian had wondered how Captain Patrick got away with it. The United States has strict guidelines about equality and watches over recruitment and hiring processes to protect against bigotry. Yet anyone interested in such things could take a simple trip through this ship and see that way less than a tenth of the crew and passengers could trace their ancestry to somewhere other than Northern Europe. A more in-depth look, such as the one Sebastian took to study this vessel in order to pull off this visit, would show that non-white crew members invariably occupied the lowest enlisted position with the worst jobs, and the passengers were in the worst berths, something the RUS would take a keen interest in knowing. Cherokees and other descendants of the Sioux Cherokee Empire were simply not on board, making Sebastian the sole representative of those peoples. Sebastian winds his way through the ship, always heading outwards. Any vessel designed to spin had its primary docking ports at one of the poles of the axis to make docking easier. Along the outer shell are large compartments. To get to these, you had to work along the outside of the ship, moving with the spin of the ship spinward or against it counterspin. These were normally used for storage, but on the Hawk, The largest compartment was used for less utilitarian purposes. Even Sebastian had to admit the Hawk was cleaner, safer, and better organized than most vessels he's visited. The Faraday deck is its official designation. The arbor is what most call it. It is 100 feet high and twice that long. It is a popular place for couples to meet away from the steam and smell of oil that permeates most of the fleet. The arbor is one of the few places in the fleet in which trees are grown. The grass is meticulously cared for, and travel through the area is strictly limited to paths. The path designers understood people and placed many little alcoves where couples could meet privately. It is to one of these that Sebastian heads. Although the trees and underbrush give the semblance of privacy, the proximity of the outer hall makes the arbor a safety concern. As such, there are many cameras and sensors spread throughout the area. Cautiously, Sebastian maneuvers around the cameras, keeping in mind a mental map of the cameras he found in the Hawks database. Last time he was here, he discovered Captain Patrick had instructed her crew to keep an eye out for him. He had no plans on being kicked off the ship again, at least not before his mission is accomplished. Despite the extra time he takes being cautious, Sebastian arrives first. He spends the time waiting, whittling on a fallen branch. Sebastian takes his time and is careful with the work he is doing. He respectfully considers each scratch, each shaping of the wood before moving his hands. Wood and the items made from it have become very valuable. Not many of the humans who escaped the destruction of Earth will ever get a chance to do this. Trees, bushes, anything that is grown is very rare. The arbor here, the farm ship that the older generations laughingly dubbed Old MacDonald's, and the small garden on the generation ship, the Perseus, are the only places the 7 million Earth refugees had with real plants. Though the hydroponic station supplied a great variety of foods and fibrous materials, real wood was beyond them. The luck glyph he is carving is almost complete when he hears footsteps approaching. The carving and knife disappear into pockets as Sebastian finds a hiding place. When the redhead with alabaster skin enters the alcove, he makes sure she is alone before stepping into view. She rushes into his arms before he can get "Hello, beautiful" out. She kisses his dark cheeks and hugs him fiercely. "It has been so long, love." "It's only been a month." "Only a month?" Sebastian hides the smile caused by her indignant tone. "Yes, only a month. The longest month of my life." Mollified, she leans in, resting her head on his chest. "Unfortunately, I haven't found a place for us, and now I'm broke. It's time for me to return home." "I could give you some money. I have saved a bit." "Love, that would buy us a couple of days, and then I would still have to go home. I need some means to support myself out here, and I'm working on a plan." "A plan?" She finally leans back to look up into his deep brown eyes. "What kind of plan?" "Okay." Suddenly nervous, Sebastian takes a deep breath to calm his nerves, but rattles on a bit anyway. "Well, I need some way to make money. With that, we could get married when we're old enough. Even your dad doesn't object to me unless Rosalie is around, filling his head with talk of a captainship dynasty. As if you marrying a captain will actually help him any. He's got the sweetest berth in the fleet." "Well, go on." Kira steps back with a grin. "Remember how interested Professor Hitchin was in my Aether experiment?" At her nod, he continues. "Well, I looked into it. There are several careers that rely on the ability to see Aether and to be able to use glyphs. All of them are very lucrative. Well, I'm not sure how good I am at that, but I found a school that will train people who showed potential. It won't cost me anything. With training, I could get a great job, make the big bucks, we could be together." "Oh, not that. You'd be stuck with them for years, and we would never get to see each other." "No, that's part of the beauty of the plan. This school is only for 1 year." Sebastian grins. "Give me 2 years and I'll solve everything." "If that school is halfway across the fleet, we'll never be able to see each other. A lot can happen in a year. Don't you see? As a well-paid Aether technician, we would be put at the top of the list for having a child. We could have a family. I could have a family too. A captain gets the biggest berth on the ship. Then it's settled. You get your captaincy, I land a good job and live on your ship. Then between us, we can have 2 kids." "Nobody is allowed 2 kids. The absurd notion makes her smile. It will take time for both of us to reach our goals. Until then, let's just enjoy being together. She leads him out of their alcove. Hand in hand, they wander the park, enjoying the scenes and the rare smell of fresh growing things. Acutely aware of being visible to the cameras, Sebastian starts an internal countdown. In the middle of the park is a small pond. Here they stop to watch real fish in the shallow pool. Sebastian finds an alcove overlooking the pond where they can watch the fish and talk in privacy. Sabo, do you remember Dante? Kira takes off her shoes and wiggles her toes in the luxurious feeling of green grass. Yeah, of course I do. We just graduated 2 months ago. I know I forgot a corsage for the prom, but my memory isn't as bad as you all claim. You keep telling yourself that, Sebastian Snow. She smiles and leans back against his chest, enjoying the feel of him more than the grass between her toes. Well, Dante got an engineer position on Dad's ship. Once he makes journeyman, he plans on moving Celeste on board, signing a contract with her. Isn't Celeste that beautiful girl from the class behind us that had all those wonderful curves? She'll make a good wife. Tell Dante I said congrats. Sabo doesn't even crack a smile until she punches him. Beautiful? You think she's beautiful? Well, then why don't you go be with her? Gently, Sebastian wraps his arms around her. Because her curves are not nearly as pleasing as yours, and she's not the one I'm in love with. She lets him hold him for a few minutes, then breaks away, gathering the divided hems of her ship skirt and rolling them above her knees before stepping into the pond. As he watches her splash around, he finishes the last few touches on his carving. Then he joins her in the water. They splash each other, laughing and giggling like young kids. An older couple on the shore watches merrily and laughs with them. Knowing they are within view of several cameras, Sebastian keeps one eye out for the crew, who are sure to notice them now. The sound of approaching runners makes Kira aware of her surroundings again. A pair of officers in the Hawk's distinctive brown faux leather uniforms wind their way along the paths. When they spot Sebastian, they yell to alert other suits who are spread across the arbor. Boy, take it. I hoped we would have more time. Wading over to her, Sebo kisses Kira. That's my cue. I gotta run. I love you. I love you too. You better hurry. Babe, it's going to take me a day to get to the school. The first day will be orientation, and I don't know how long that's going to take. I'll call you in the evening on the second day of school. Okay, now hurry. Sebastian had planned this whole trip, including his exit. It was no accident that their stroll led them to the pool, nor that his gear was watertight. He seals the collar and shirt cuffs, then takes out a breather mask. Quickly, he double checks the alchemical oxygen level and flips the breather valve to ensure it isn't jammed. As the ship officers enter the clearing around the lake, Sebastian dons the mask, smiles, and waves at the officers, then dives into the water. Once activated by water, the alchemical solution releases a steady stream of oxygen, allowing him to stay submerged for about 20 minutes, if needed. He dives towards the center of the pond. The clarity of the water makes it easy to find the suction pump. Like all things on a ship, the water system of the arbor serves another non aesthetic purpose. It is part of the water filtration and purification system for the ship, as well as giving a boost to the oxygen scrubbers. The plants, algae, and critters of the arbor serve to clean the water. This clean water is gathered in the pond and slowly pumped back into the reservoir tanks. Sebastian had spent hours studying the system. He swiftly closes a valve on his side. The motor quickly hums to a stop. In a few seconds, the system pressure will lower enough to trigger an automatic backup system, which will open another valve and the pump will start again. The 5-second delay gives them plenty of time to pass the giant blades of the pump and ensure everyone who follows gets stopped when the blades begin to spin again. Plus, 5 seconds is not enough time to seriously interfere with the water purification system. He follows the pipe to the reservoir. The hatches here are designed to keep people out. They even have an emergency escape lever in case some poor fool manages to get closed in or a scoundrel bypassing the system to rig a way in. Emerging from the tank, Sebastian hurries along the passages. He no longer hides from the cameras. Now that Captain Rosany Patrick knows he's on board, speed is more important than stealth. Cash's ship would still be where he left it. Sebastian had scheduled a pickup and paid in advance for an indeterminate time. Cash wouldn't leave until his valuable passenger arrived, though he doesn't yet know his new passenger is the same one he let off the ship only a couple of hours ago. Sebastian stops to send a message to Cash, letting him know his passenger was on his way. The delay proves to be costly as two security officers round a corner and spot him as he hangs up. Sebastian swiftly slaps emergency close buttons as he dashes through hatches. This barely slows the officers, as somebody on the bridge, probably Patrick's freak watchdog, immediately sends override signals just as swiftly. It becomes a mad dash for the last 100 yards, with the two officers right behind him. He dives into the hatch, and Captain Cash steps forward with a drawn blaster, stopping the security officers in their tracks. Whoa now, put that thing away. I don't think so. The captain has ordered that nobody on the ship can have a blaster without her written consent. That's fine and dandy on her ship. That line in the deck is the hatchway to my ship. Once the boy crossed that line, he boarded the Indy, my ship. On my ship, I can have a blaster any time I want. Sir, the sneer on the crewman's face disappears. That boy is a fugitive and is under arrest. Hand him over, and we won't mention your interference in this matter. Mention it all you want. I am recording this whole conversation. Now, as the captain of my vessel, I can determine how I handle the fugitive. In this case, I do not have time to dawdle over the matter. I have a schedule to keep. I will take him with me. You send over the charges and the evidence you have against him. If there's anything damning in the evidence, I will turn him over to the authorities at my next stop. He's our prisoner. The rest of the crewman's reply is cut off by the hiss of the hydraulic system pushing the hatch closed. Thanks for the hint about the defective glyph. I was able to get a new one and replace it cheaply. You saved me a lot of time and money diagnosing the problem. Captain Cash swings into his command chair and starts to disengage from the larger ship. How did you know about the glyph? Sebastian decides he can confide in the captain. Well, sir, I discovered a few years back that if I squint just right, I can see the glyphs. Not just the physical part, but the magic in it. Young man, that is a rare and special gift. Take my advice. Until you determine what you are going to do in life and how you plan on using that gift, keep it a secret. There are many people who would try to trick or force you to use that to their benefit. Aye, aye, sir. And that concludes our first chapter of The Problem with Aether. Next time, we'll get to know Captain Rosany Patrick and her second in command, Paper, a little bit better. We'll also see how Paper's plans have been progressing. Thank you, and I hope to see you again.